Namaste to all our dear viewers to this national webinar series on Yoga Ramayana Vishwakosha history. In this session today, we have Dr. Samatha P. She is a PhD from Tumkur University, studied extensively on Prasthanatraya and Yoga Vasishta. She is currently working as Assistant Professor in the Division of Yoga and Humanities at S. Vyasa University. Let's listen to her about the forest types of India in Valmiki Ramayana.
Namaste. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. Om Shri Ramaya Ramabhadraya Ramachandraya Vedase Raghunathaya Nathaya Sitaya Pataye Namaha. Namaste to all the audience. Myself, Dr. Samatha P., presently working as the Assistant Professor in S. Vyasa Yoga University, deemed to be Jigni, Bangalore. I would like to speak about the description of forest types of India described in Valmiki Ramayana. So, I would like to give an introduction about the epic Ramayana before I go to the topic. So, as we all know, the Ramayana is a great epic which knows no boundaries of religion or nation. The Ramayana has taught the values of life and behavior to number of men and women over the centuries across India and Southeast Asian countries. And there is no finer example in this world of a multi-religious international culture which is represented in the Ramayana epic. And scores of generations of the adults and children, they have watched the performances and listened and read to the narrations of this great epic Ramayana over 3000 years. Ramayana is a great artwork and a literary work to learn the importance of an ethical life across the world, and the story of Ramayana is enacted more often than in any other literature across the world. That means Ramayana has been enacted in India and the Southeast Asian countries like Indonesia, Nepal, Myanmar, Cambodia, Thailand, etc. And the Ramayana has been enacted by Indians and even the Muslims, Buddhists also. So that shows how Ramayana is a very great epic also. And the most important cultural traditions of Thailand, Cambodia, Indonesia, Nepal, India, Singapore, Malaysia, Vietnam is greatly influenced by the Ramayana epic. And the Ramayana, the great bond of culture which unites India and the countries of Southeast Asia also. Dr. Swaminathan, the chairman of CPR Environmental Education Center located in Chennai, India, he has said the plant and animal diversity constitutes the foundation for sustainable livelihoods and human happiness. The sage Valmiki has described beautifully the value and wonder of biodiversity in his epic, the Ramayana. And the people who belittle arguing that the Ramayana epic as a mythology or a mere epic and the Lord Rama as a fictitious character should be ready to give up their skepticism, because couple of years ago, two Chennai based botanists by name M. Amritalingam and P. Sudhakar, with their 3 years long study, established Ramayana is a true life story authored by Valmiki, incorporating the facts, figures, science and environment of that period. All 182 plants, including various flowers, trees, fruits mentioned in the Ramayana, have been found to be true by the research carried out by these two botanists. And as per the opinion of M. Amritalingam and P. Sudhakar, the two botanists working with the CPR Environmental Education Center, Chennai, they tracked the route travelled by Lord Rama, Sita and Lakshmana from Ayodhya from north to the south as a part of their exile to the forest for 14 years. And for their surprise, they could identify all the plant species in the Ramayana mentioned by Valmiki along this route, even prevailing in today's India in various types of forests we found in India also. And as a taxonomist, Sudhakar confirmed the plant varieties described by sage Valmiki in the epic Ramayana with their Sanskrit and Latin names. So Sudhakar has given the list of plants described in the Ramayana epic with their taxonomical Latin names also. And according to these two botanists, Ramayana is geographically very correct and very perfect, and this shows that sage Valmiki was very well known about the flora and the fauna of India, and every site on Rama's route is still identifiable today and has a continuing traditions or temples to commemorate the Rama's visit. And by this we will come to know that sage Valmiki, whatever he has described in the epic Ramayana, is not only a mere imagination of the poet, but it is the true aspects which prevailed in India and which we can identify even today in our Indian forests. So this CPR Environmental Education Center in Chennai documented many species of plants and animals mentioned in the great epic Ramayana. So by their very long 3 years of extensive research all over the India, M. Amritalingam and P. Sudhakar found that the same plant species and animal species still existed in the same places as described in the epic Ramayana. Valmiki mentions Rama, Lakshmana and Sita were alerted to be careful when they enter the Dandaka Aranya, because in the Ramayana we find the descriptions when in the life in the exile, Rama, Sita and Lakshmana were being cautioned while they were entering the Dandaka Aranya. The other people who are living in the hermitages in the forest, they used to alert Rama, Sita and Lakshmana they should be very careful and cautious while living in exile in the forest Dandaka Aranya. So at the Bhimtek caves in Madhya Pradesh, that has 10,000-year-old wall carvings and paintings featuring lions and tigers, corroborates the Valmiki's text. So even today in Madhya Pradesh, a place called as Bhimtek caves, where we could see the wall paintings where the lions and tigers have been featured, which exactly matches with the descriptions of these animals in the Dandaka Aranya. And Ramayana is a useful source of information giving details about the mammals like monkeys, bears, insects and various plants and so on. Rama describes various plants in Ramayana, and Sita is found to be fond of observing and enthusiastic to know the different types of animals which she used to curiously observing in their forest life. And this epic Ramayana mentions why some trees became very sacred, like the banyan tree and the peepal tree and etc. So the epic Ramayana also explains why these trees have become very sacred, and even today the people of India used to worship these trees with very sacredness. And Rama describes various plants to Sita, and the Sita also speaks about the welfare of the animals, and she is being found that she is against hunting for the sport. One question may arise in the mind of the audience, then if Sita is worried about the welfare of the animals and she was against the hunting for sport, then the Maya Mriga Prasanga, why she used to wish for the golden deer to be captured by Rama? Here the botanists have given explanation that Sita wanted that golden deer because it is a very rare species among the animals, and she wanted to nourish that at her hermitage where she was living in the forest, but not for hunting purpose. So 3-year-long botanical study of these two botanists confirms Ramayana is not a myth, but it is a actual description of India prevailing in that time by sage Valmiki. And Amritalingam and Sudhakar journeyed from the Dandakaranya to the Panchavati and Kishkinda. They found the Kishkinda has a dry and moist climate which synchronizes with what Valmiki has described in epic Ramayana. So this gives the evidence that Ramayana is not a myth or just an imagination of the poet sage Valmiki. It is actually what is the geographical description, true geographical description prevailing in that time in our country. And Chitrakuta and Dandakaranya regions, which were mentioned and described in the epic Ramayana, are spread across the today's Madhya Pradesh, Odisha and Andhra Pradesh. So whatever the Chitrakuta and Dandakaranya descriptions, the flora and fauna descriptions which has been done by sage Valmiki in epic Ramayana, it is still found spread across these states of India today, that is Madhya Pradesh, Odisha and Andhra Pradesh. And the Panchavati, from where Sita was abducted by Ravana, is situated on the banks of river Godavari in modern Maharashtra. So these are all the like this many evidences these two botanists used to give in their 3-year-long research, proving that Ramayana is not a myth, it is a historical scripture which has been composed by sage Valmiki by the very keen observation about the flora and fauna and the geographical descriptions given by sage Valmiki in the epic Ramayana is true, even prevailing today in India. So then the diverse types of animals and bird species of this region have been mentioned by sage Valmiki. For example, to say the Hamsa, that is the swan, and Karandava, called as coot, and Krauncha, the pond heron, and Mayura, the peacock, and Sarasa, the crane, and like many more which are visible in this region even today in our country India. And Lord Rama, conversing with the Sita and Lakshmana, speaks about the significance of plants and trees which they come across during their journey. And even today in our country we have Sthala Vriksha, that means trees associated with each location, and plants which are worshipped even today in India, which are described as sacred in epic Ramayana also. And the sacred plants like tulsi and the sacred trees like banyan and punnaga are some examples to substantiate the theory of the sacred trees which are associated with each location, that is what I have said, the Sthala Vriksha. Then these all proves that the Ramayana is not a myth or just a exaggeration or the imagination of sage Valmiki, but Ramayana is a true story which has happened in that period prevailing in India, and this proves Ramayana is not just a story but a chronicle. So the Ravana's botanical garden was known as Ashokavana. It is very famous that in the Sri Lanka the Ravana's pleasure garden was called as Ashokavana because due to the presence of abundance of Ashoka trees in that, so it was appropriately named as Ashokavana. And according to these two botanists, Valmiki knew what he was writing about. This is very important because sage Valmiki was knowing what he is writing or describing and explaining in his epic Ramayana. So again, Nandita Krishna, the director of CPR Environmental Education Center, Chennai, said, unless Valmiki was thorough about the topography, geography and ecology of the region, he could not have provided such a sharp and precise observation of the time, place and location and the geographical descriptions of India as well as Lanka also. So this proves that Valmiki, whatever sage Valmiki has described in his epic Ramayana is true only and it is not a myth. And then let us come to the topic. What I am going to speak about is forest types in the Valmiki Ramayana. So first let us see what were the plant diversities described in Valmiki's Ramayana. So from the various plant varieties described in the epic Ramayana, as Rama travels from Ayodhya to Lanka through the forests of Chitrakuta like Dandakaranya, Panchavati, Kishkinda, Lanka and even the Himalayan mountains situated beyond Kailasha as it is described in the epic Ramayana, and from where the Hanuman brought the very famous Sanjeevini. So it is obvious that the epic Ramayana could only have been written by a person with a deep and intimate knowledge of the land, the geographical topography and its vegetation of that particular places located in our country. In the epic Ramayana, the forest in general is described as Shanta, Madhura, Raudra and Bhibhatsa. So sage Valmiki categorizes the forest types in India as majorly into 4 types, as I told you. Shanta means calm and Madhura means sweet and Raudra means anger, Bhibhatsa means very fearful. And these 4 types of forests reflect the 4 sentiments that dominate the entire forest environment. This is very interesting fact that, so these whatever Shanta, Madhura, Raudra, Bhibhatsa types of forest described, it reflects the 4 sentiments that dominate the entire forest environment in described in the epic Ramayana. So there are thick forests, namely Chitrakuta, Dandakaranya, Panchavati and Kishkindha, which is called as Pampa Sarovara also, and the thick forests in Lanka and the pleasure garden Ashokavana of Ravana. And then the descriptions in the Ramayana reflect the supremacy of nature prevailing in that period in India, and the area of its scope ranges from the Ayodhya in today's Uttar Pradesh to Sri Lanka. Ramayana gives us a comprehensive idea of the different natural regions that fall within this area, and the areas covers 4 major ecosystems. In the Ramayana, sage Valmiki describes 4 major ecosystems like the tropical deciduous forest, second dry and moist deciduous forest, and thirdly evergreen tropical forests of Lanka, and the fourth alpine region semi forests of Himalayan region. The flora and the fauna and the water elements, the forests, plants, animals and birds are described in detail in epic Ramayana by sage Valmiki. And there are also passages in Ramayana which describe the land surface, the biodiversity, the vegetation, the degrees of wilderness and so on, which are related to the topography of India and Sri Lanka. There are 2 in forest types which are described in Valmiki's Ramayana, that is, the first one is the principal forest and the sub forest. So the Chitrakuta and Dandaka Aranya can be called as principal forests because they are very dense and vast in their geographical coverage. So that's why the Chitrakuta and Dandaka Aranya are described extensively by sage Valmiki in the epic Ramayana, and they can be called as the principal forests. Panchavati can be described as a stretch of the principal forest, therefore it is called the sub forest, because Panchavati, you can see it is just a patch of land comprising of the forest, various species of plants and animals. We could see that it is a stretch of this principal forest, that is why the Panchavati can be called as a sub forest. And the major part of the narrative of the epic Ramayana takes place in Dandaka Aranya. The forest landscapes include in Dandaka Aranya water elements in the form of rivers, lakes, streams and ponds, and secondly the landscape of Dandaka Aranya include the aquatic plants like the lotus, water lilies, etc. The forests described are generally deciduous in nature, and in epic Ramayana the water occupies an important place in the description of the forests, and the continuous flow of water from the waterfalls and springs helps to maintain the moisture content, which is described in epic Ramayana during the description of the forests. And the thick forests acts as a conserving element in the hydrological cycle. Today also we are having this climatic changes. Why? Because this hydrological cycle being disturbed by the human interventions, by various environmental pollutions. This hydrological cycle has been disturbed. So where we know that where there are dense forests, they will receive, that region where there are abundant of plants and trees, thick forests, they receive rainfall, timely rainfall. Due to the deforestation today, we are not receiving the abundant rainfall, and the very important species of plants are being vanished from the earth forever. So, the epic Ramayana is proved that it is describing the hydrological cycle should be maintained, and this was done by the thick forests prevailing in that time in India. As in the previously I have mentioned, in the Ramayana, sage Valmiki has described the thick forests. These thick forests were acting as a conserving element, maintaining the hydrological cycle. And Rama's first halt is at Chitrakuta, also known as the Mahavana or the Great Forest in the epic Ramayana. And the next halt of Rama, Sita and Lakshmana was at Dandaka Aranya, where Rama constructed an ashrama. In the Ramayana Aranya Kanda, the ashramas are described by sage Valmiki as Aranyaischa Mahavrukshaih Punyaihi Swaduphalaihi Vritam, means the ashramas were abounding in tall trees, the sacred trees, and in sweet fruit bearing trees. So, this is the description of the plants which were there in the forests. We see described in the Valmiki's Ramayana, and the various descriptions in Ramayana reflects the entire narrative is not uniform. Why? Because the differences in the physical characteristics of the forests may be the reason for the entire narrative is not uniform, because there are different types of forests. That's why the description of the flora and fauna also used to be different. So the narrative in the Ramayana, where the description of the flora and fauna of different types of forests also is not in uniform, because of these physical difference in the physical characteristics of the forests, and also the various species of plants and animals lived in this different types of forests. And in the Lankan evergreen forests, the pleasure garden of Ravana, named as Ashokavana because of the Ashoka tree appears to be the predominant species in the Ashokavana. Now let us see how these different types of forests in India has been described by sage Valmiki in the great epic Ramayana. The first is the tropical deciduous forest. We see in the epic Ramayana, sage Bharadwaja advised Rama to settle in Chitrakuta forest in first phase of his exile, and this Chitrakuta forest is been described as situated at a distance of 10 kroshas from Prayaga, and the Chitrakuta is a hill to the north of which flows the Mandakini river described in the epic Ramayana. And the forest comprises of beautiful flowering trees which surround the Chitrakuta forest on all the sides. Valmiki's graphic account includes both edible and non-edible types of vegetation like the mango, jackfruit, jujuba, mirobalan, and a type of sour fruit called bhavya, which is called as Dilenia. And we find the description of diverse plants which include the flowering trees like Lodhra, the Lodh tree, Nipa, Nipa palm, the Tilaka, the rice or redwood tree, hardwood trees like Arishta, that is neem, and Asan, Indian kino, or Bijaka, the Indian kino tree, and Dhanvan, the berry fruit, Madhuka, the Indian butter tree, and Tinisa, that is Sandan, and Varana, that is bamboo. The grass type like Venu, which is called as bamboo, and Vetra, the giant thorny bamboo, has also been seen described in Valmiki's Ramayana. And the 5 Oshadhi plants, that is medicinal plants, namely Shweta Kanthakari, Salanam Xanthocarpum, and Brahmi, Herpestis monaira, and Katuka, Gentiana kuru, and Ativisha, Aconitum heterophyllum, and Hilamochica, that is Euhydra hincha, has been seen described in the Ramayana. The Rama's next halt was at Dandaka Aranya, where he constructed an ashram there also. And this Dandaka Aranya is situated in the parts of present day Madhya Pradesh, Odisha, and Andhra Pradesh. The origin of the name of Dandaka Aranya we can see seen described in Ramayana like this. The demon Dandaka once lived there, so the forest might have got the name as Dandaka Aranya, or from the Danda plant which used to grow in this forest, so the name might have come for this forest as Dandaka Aranya. So the Danda trina, a type of long grass, flourishes in this region only, and we see that Danda also means the rows of the trees. That's why this forest was having a thick rows of trees growing in that. That's why it may be named as Dandaka Aranya. And the important plant species found in this Dandaka forests can be listed like this. Firstly, the Darbha, which is the sacred grass, the Madhuka, Indian butter tree, Shala, the sal tree, Dhava, the axle wood, Ashwakarna, that is the Gurjan balsam, and Kukubha, the white Marudha, Bilva, Bengal quince, Tinduka, Indian persimmon, Patala, the trumpet tree, Badari, the Indian jujube. So this covers the description of the tropical deciduous forest, how it is very precisely, accurately described by sage Valmiki in epic Ramayana. And the second type of forest described in the Valmiki's Ramayana is tropical dry deciduous forests. So the next halt of Rama and Sita along with Lakshmana is at Panchavati. And we all know Sita was abducted by Ravana from this place called as Panchavati only, which is situated on the banks of the river Godavari. And this Panchavati comprised of forests plain called Samam. This was the Panchavati forest was having the plants of fruit yielding, flowery plants, aromatic and hardwood trees were there in the Panchavati forest. And in this forest, the presence of cereals were found in this region. For example, barley, wheat and shali rice, also called as winter rice, are mentioned and described in the Valmiki's Ramayana. And this place Panchavati was also abundant in the sacred holy basil and the aquatic lotus. The commonly found tree species can be listed, found in Panchavati forest like this: Shala, the sal tree; Palmyra palm, the Tamala, West Indian bay tree, and the date palms, jackfruit, Punnaga, Alexandrian laurel, and sweet mango, Ashoka, Tilaka, that is sesame, and Ketaka, the screw pine, Champaka, the champaka flower tree, and sandalwood, Nipa, the bur flower tree, Lakucha, and Dhava, Ashwakarna, that is Gurjan balsam, and Khadira, which is called as acacia tree, and Shami, the Indian mesquite, and Kimshuka, which is known as flame of the forest, and Patala, the trumpet tree. So there are even more trees described, but to give as an example in my talk, I have chosen these major trees which are described in the Valmiki's Ramayana. Now let us see about the next type of the forest described in Valmiki Ramayana, that is the third one, dry and moist deciduous forest. Rama and Lakshmana, during the course of their wandering in search of Sita, come across Kabandha. The Kabandha directed them westwards towards the Pampa Sarovara lake and the Kishkinda. The lake Pampa Sarovara lies to the west of the Rishyamukha hill and to the east of Matanga hill. Even today, these hills are known by these original names. This is a very interesting fact. Even till today, these hills are named, called by the same name, Rishyamukha and Matanga, as described in Valmiki's Ramayana. The Pampa Sarovara is described as situated beyond another vana, that is woodland, resembled the celestial gardens of Indra and Kubera in its beauty and splendor. Presently, the Pampa Sarovar is located in the Bellary district of modern Karnataka state. The fauna and flora, the water sources and their quality and purity are highlighted in the epic Ramayana. It's very important. And the climatic conditions, especially in the month of Chaitra, that is from March to the April, was exceedingly pleasant as described in epic Ramayana. And the vegetation of this region is of the dry and moist deciduous type. That's why the forests are called as dry and moist deciduous forests. A pact of friendship between Rama and Sugriva was sealed over the ritual fire, and we all know that Rama agreed to kill Vali, and in turn Sugriva agreed to assist Rama in the search for Sita. There was a luxuriant forest which resembled those in the heaven as described in Ramayana. The fully blown lotuses and lilies and Padmaka, the Himalayan wild cherry, added to the beauty of this lake Pampa Sarovara, and the flowering creepers like Malati, Rangoon creeper, and Mallika, the Arabian jasmine, Vasanti and Madhavi, the helicopter flower, Hiptage, these entwined themselves around the trees which were situated on the banks of this Pampa Sarovara. The beauty of the forest was further enhanced by the presence of the trees like Kimshuka, Ankola, which is called as sage leaf alangium, and Kuranta, that is porcupine flower, and Churanaka, Paribhadraka, which is the Indian coral trees, Kovidara, the mountain ebony, the Muchukunda, which is the cork-leaved bayer, and the Arjuna trees. The forest comprised several common fruit yielding varieties also, like jambu, the rose apple, priyala, the almondete tree, banyan tree, plaksha, the Indian fig tree, panasa, the jackfruit tree, pippala, the hippali or pipal, and amra, that is the mango tree, rakta chandana, that is the red sandal tree and sandalwood, naga kesari, the ironwood tree, tilaka, the redwood tree, nakta malaka, Indian beech and blue ashoka, mandara, white bauhinia, and kadamba, the common burr flower, and karavira, the Indian oleander, agnimukhya, that is the Indian marking nut tree, tinduka, the wild mangosteen, and many more trees like dhava, the axlewood, again punnaga, vanjula, and siribilva, the Bengal quince, and bakula, Indian medullum, and champaka tree, ketaki plant, sinduvar, the five-leaved chaste tree, and lodhra, the Asiatic sweet leaf, uddalaka, the bird lime tree, shirisha, the women's, which is called as the women's tongue, and syandana, the sandan tree, and hintala, the cycas, and kurabaka, the red amaranth, and shalmali, the red silk cotton tree. See, very, very vast description of flora and fauna we see in the epic Ramayana being described by sage Valmiki, being an eyewitness of all these descriptions he has done in his epic. And then the fourth type of forest which is described in the epic Ramayana is the Himalayan alpine region, which is a vast tract of territory said to be located between the two mountains Kailasha and the Rishabha, and this covered thousands of yojanas. It is being described in the Yuddha Kanda of the epic Ramayana. The mountain Kailasha is situated beyond the trans-Himalayan region, confirmed by the reference to Hanuman's crossing the Himalayas to reach Kailasa. The three jointed mountains in the trans-Himalayan region are seen described in the epic Ramayana like the Kailasha mountain, Rishabha mountain, and Mahodaya or the Aushadhi mountain in the Yuddha Kanda of Valmiki's Ramayana. This mountain had a thick growth of forest on the southern side, and the main plants having curative properties were found on this side of the mountain, which are described as glowing and aromatic plants there, and the whole area was suffused with a pleasant aroma of these Oshadhi plants. And the Oshadhi peak, given importance by sage Valmiki in his epic Ramayana, this Oshadhi peak was the home of several medicinal plants, including the Sanjeevani plant. And the Ramayana epic also mentions the battle between armies of Rama and Ravana, and we all know the Lakshmana was wounded and fell unconscious, and as per the physician Sushena's suggestion, Hanuman rushed to the Dronagiri hills and fetched 4 plants. These 4 plants fetched by Hanuman has been named and described by sage Valmiki in the epic Ramayana as follows: the Mrita Sanjeevani, capable of restoring the dead to the life, and the next is Vishalya Karani, which is capable of extracting weapons and healing all wounds inflicted by the weapons, and the third Oshadhi plant is Suvarna Karani, which is restoring the body to its original complexion, and the fourth Oshadhi plant described is Sandhani, the great herb which was capable of joining several limbs or fractured bone. See, very, very interesting descriptions we will see like this in abundance in Valmiki's Ramayana, which evidence that the epic Ramayana is a true story and not just a myth. Now, the fifth type of forest described in Valmiki's Ramayana is evergreen forests of Lanka. So, there is not so much difference between the tropical deciduous forests and the evergreen Lankan forests, with a little difference only they have. And the evergreen Lankan forest, also known as the greenwood. And the two main characteristics of the Lankan forests described in the epic Ramayana as the natural and the naturalized forests. So, these are the two main characteristics of the Lankan forests. They were natural and naturalized forests. The natural forests comprise mainly subforest. The features of the natural forests can be known as follows. So, the natural forest comprises of rock plants, and they were comprising of sufficient water sources to water these plants, and these natural forests were very, very famous for their biodiversity of flora and fauna, and defined as the ancillaries to the ecology of these natural forests. I would like to elaborate the meaning of these words. Ancillaries means secondary, auxiliary or subordinate. So, these natural forests are defined in epic Ramayana as the secondary or subordinate forests to the ecology. And the narrative of the Lankan dense greenwood forest plants gives an important place in epic Ramayana. Some of the plants mentioned grown in the Lankan dense greenwood forests can be listed like this: Sarala, the chir pine; Karanikara, the bayur tree; Karjura, the wild date palm tree; Priyala, almondette tree; Muchulinda, the Barringtonia; Kutaja, bitter oleander; and Ketaki, the screw pine; Priyangu, the beauty berry; and Nipa, that is the Nipa palm tree; and Saptachada, the Indian devil tree; and Asana, the Indian kino; Kovidara, which is mountain ebony tree; and Karavira, the oleander tree. So, the naturalized forest has been best described in the graphic account of the Ashokavana of Sri Lanka being described in the epic Ramayana. The Ashokavana, we come to know it has been named after the principal plant, the Ashoka, which used to grow abundantly in this region of forest. That's why it got the name Ashokavana. And this Ashokavana has been described by sage Valmiki in the epic Ramayana as a naturalized evergreen forest. And this Ashokavana possesses all the characteristics of the forest ecosystem, and it has been described as the large consisting of large open spaces, that is Bhumi Bhaga, means very large open spaces were there in the Ashokavana, which occupy an important place in the layout of this naturalized forest. And the biodiversity excels in the propagation and the acclimatization of various plants comprising of the following plants and trees in the Ashokavana described in the epic. That in the epic Ramayana, let us see how the Ashokavana has been described now. So, the Ashokavana, which was named after the principal plant for the abundance of Ashoka tree, and it's a naturalized evergreen forest also. It was possessing all the characteristics of the forest ecosystem. It was having, already explained, Bhumi Bhaga means the large open spaces occupying an important place in the layout of its naturalized forest region. The biodiversity in the Ashokavana excels in the propagation and acclimatization of various plants comprising of the following. Before seeing the list of these plants, let me explain what is the meaning of this acclimatization. Acclimatization is the climatic adaptation of an organism like a plant or an animal that has been moved from its native environment to a new environment. So, it is a adaptation of a plant or an animal to set for a new environment, that is called as acclimatization, and this was found in the Ashokavana of Ravana. And we could see the major plants which were there in the Ashokavana being described in sage Valmiki's Ramayana as following. Varieties of Ashoka trees of different colors like golden Ashoka trees, fairy red Ashoka trees, dark colored, that is Anjana, dark colored Ashoka trees, and blue, that is Neela Ashoka trees, and skin colored Ashoka trees were described in being present in the Ashoka Vana. And the Champaka trees, Chandana, the sandalwood trees, the Bakula, Indian medlar tree, Bhavya, the neem tree, and the Naga Kesara, cobra saffron or ironwood tree, and the Sala, that is the sal tree, and the Uddalaka, the Indian cherry, are the some of the most important plants to be mentioned, being seen described in the Ashokavana description in the epic Ramayana. And apart from these trees, the Ashokavana has been described of comprising all types of seasonal fruits and flowers and rich mango groves also. The Kalpavriksha, that is Santanaka tree, was being described as excellent in its fragrance, and it was continuously oozing the juice from it. And this Kalpavriksha also has been described by sage Valmiki as entwined with hundreds of various creeping plants also. The lily forest, which covers the entire water surface, found in the Ashokavana, and the evergreen Ashokavana is described by sage Valmiki in the epic Ramayana as a garden where nature is portrayed in all its glory. See what a great description of the Ashokavana sage Valmiki gives in the epic Ramayana. So to conclude my talk on the forest types of India as described in Valmiki Ramayana, in our today in India, the forest departments in various parts of India excelled in planting these types of nature gardens all over the country. In these forest gardens, generally the vegetable compositions are both native and exotic in nature. So, I would like to say, by the research, the long 3-year research that has been done by M. Amritalingam and Sudhakar, two botanists from the CPR Environmental Studies Center at Chennai, they used to evidence that the Ramayana is not a myth or just a imagination description of the poet sage Valmiki, but it is a chronicle of various flora and fauna that prevailed in India during the time of epic Ramayana, and which flora and fauna which we find even today in our country, which proves that the Ramayana is not a myth, it is a true story which has been described by sage Valmiki, who eyewitnessed all the descriptions he has done in his work, the epic Ramayana. I would like to thank all the staff of S. Vyasa for encouraging me to give this talk in the Ramayana series of lectures, and I would like to thank all of you audience also. Om Mangalam Kosalendraya Mahaniya Gunatmane Chakravarti Tanujaya Sarvabhaumaya Mangalam. Namaste, Dhanyavada to all.
Thank you, Dr. Samataji, for your beautiful explanation about the forest types in India in Valmiki Ramayana. We'll come up with another session tomorrow. Namaste.